Thinking about getting your first credit card? Or are you a parent helping a child get theirs? If so, this episode is for you. Hello, and welcome to Headlines in Fine Print. I'm Dion Williams, President and CEO of Piedmont Advantage Credit Union. Just as a reminder, before we get into today's content, we have the show archived on our YouTube channel and Spotify if you'd like to learn more or listen to past episodes. I'd also like to encourage you to follow our channels, like and share if you're so inclined. With no further ado, let's talk about getting that first credit card. Now, in terms of my first credit card as a college student, I remember it vividly. It was what we'd refer to today as an affinity card. The picture on the card was a scene from an iconic Major League Baseball playoff game between the Atlanta Braves and Pittsburgh Pirates. Atlanta won the game, and that was the beginning of a much better decade of baseball for them. But that brings me to the first example of fine print. I don't recall the rate or any fees associated with the cards. However, what I recall was the picture on the card. So when you're searching for that first card, keep in mind that you'll be enticed with bells and whistles and customization. But don't let that take your focus away from rates and fees. The terms and conditions matter much more than the quote-unquote shiny objects. Also, this is your first step in establishing a credit history that will be with you for a lifetime. Now let's talk about the wise use of credit. It's more than okay to have a credit card and use a credit card. Let's review some principles of using credit wisely. Your credit history matters greatly for your whole life. For example, when you apply for employment or apply for a house or a car loan later in life, your credit history factors greatly into whether you get the job or qualify for that loan. So be sure to pay on time and don't carry balances if at all possible. The on-time payments are the largest contributor to enhancing your credit score. Beyond that, it is to your benefit to keep the card open because length of credit history also contributes positively to your credit score. The amount of credit utilization also contributes to your credit score. So let's say you have a $1,000 credit limit and your card is maxed out. It counts against you to have 100% credit utilization. Not carrying a balance or keeping your amount of credit utilization low is a positive contributor to your credit score. So let's talk about rates and fees. Let me start with this nugget of fine print. If you don't carry a balance on your card, rate doesn't matter. Rate matters greatly if you're carrying a balance because small purchases that take literally years to pay off become very expensive purchases. Especially as a first-time cardholder, avoid cards with annual fees. You can find cards with bells and whistles that do not contain annual fees. A number of card providers offer programs tailored to students, which helps you focus on building credit responsibly. And given the choice, my advice to first-time cardholders is to keep it simple and inexpensive. Let's discuss this distinction as well. Fees could come in the form of an annual fee for holding the card. Fees can also come in the form of penalties for paying late or going over your credit limit. As a consumer, you can choose a card that does not have an annual fee. The late fees or over-the-limit fees are preventable by your own actions. Debit cards versus credit cards. Debit cards are great for daily activities such as gas and groceries. I like credit cards more for larger purchases such as hotel rooms or airfare. Most rental car agencies require a credit card for payment instead of debit anyway. And the reason why is that debit cards are tied to checking accounts, and those balances fluctuate daily. Rental car agencies place large holds on the account, so it can be disruptive to your checking account with a large hold against the funds that you have in there. The other rationale for using credit for larger purchases is for fraud protection. Again, a credit card compromise is less disruptive than a debit card compromise because the debit card is what you're using for daily living expenses. The fine print for debit versus credit is to be intentional with your use of the credit card. Generally, that encompasses larger purchases for credit while debit for your daily living expenses. Now, since we're talking a little bit about fraud, let's talk about monitoring your activity and looking at your monthly statements. So I've mentioned fraud before in terms of you need to check your transactions online. You probably have an app from the card provider or can go to their website and look at your transaction history, but also pay attention closely to your monthly statement. Card providers are proactive in trying to catch fraud before it happens. But remember this, you are your best advocate. So make sure the transactions truly are yours and that you promptly report anything that looks fraudulent. The terms and conditions generally include verbiage that specifies the period of time in which fraudulent activity must be reported for you to be reimbursed. Therefore, the sooner you catch it and report it, the better. Now, another aspect of your first card could be in terms of cosigners and secured cards. So we talked about some card programs are specifically designed for students, and those programs may have less bells and whistles along with lower credit limits. But there's other alternatives out there that may give you more bells and whistles and a higher limit with a cosigner or by doing a secure card. So with the cosigner, a parent may simply be on the card with you. The card itself, the credit limit, and payment history reflects on everyone's history on the card. And that's even true if a parent adds you as an authorized user. So a parent can take this route with you, again, for a more hands-on approach to helping you with that first card. Now, with a secured card, money is deposited into an account and held as collateral on a card. So let's use this example. You have a $1,000 credit limit, and then you have an account with $1,000 on deposit to secure that card. But regardless of the fact you have the deposit account backing up the credit limit, it's still important to make on-time payments. Secured cards are generally used for folks trying to build credit for the first time or rebuild credit if there's been past credit blemishes. Getting your first credit card is an exciting life event, yet it comes with great responsibility. Remember that your first step into the world of credit has lifelong implications. Your credit history is with you, and it impacts your ability to get a job, purchase a home, or purchase a car, among other things. And that's why it's so important to pick the right card for your needs, use it responsibly, and let it be the beginning of a long, positive credit history. And of course, your credit union's here to help you with that process. Thank you so much for joining us today for Headlines and Fine Print with Dion Williams, brought to you by Piedmont Advantage Credit Union. We'll launch new episodes each month and discuss topics that are relevant to your financial life. Also, remember we have a wealth of resources on staff that can provide information on a variety of financial topics, and we look forward to sharing those with you. If you'd like to learn more about the credit union or how to become a member, please visit us at pacu.com. And as always, don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions about today's episode or suggestions for future episodes. My email address is dion.williams@pacu.com, and my phone number is 336-750-7088. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time.